Hello and welcome everyone to Butler's presentation here for the MOACAC Fair. So welcome to the virtual college exploration for all Missouri students. This is sponsored by MOACAC, or Missouri Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. So thank you for joining us. We're really excited for you guys to be here. A few housekeeping assignments from me just before we get started here. You can use a Q&A button on your screen to type any questions to our presenters at any time. Number two, your camera and microphone are off. So this is a webinar, so the panelists cannot see nor hear you. Third, this is just one of our many different sessions that are happening. So be sure to check out the full schedule at moacac.org. And lastly, this presentation is being recorded. So it's going to be available within about a week. And it's going to be on that same website. So moacac.org. I'd like to turn it now over to our presenters, Butler University.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited that you guys could be here and take the time out of your evening to actually join us here. So just to introduce myself, my name is Ann Denz. I'm an admission counselor at Butler University. I'm going to be kind of starting the presentation today, and then my coworker, Chris Potts, is going to take over afterwards. We both have territories in the Missouri area. So if you need any help or assistance throughout the application process, just let us know. So just to dive into kind of Butler at a glance, these are some of the numbers that a lot of students are probably starting to think about when looking at universities. So our undergraduate population is about a little under 5,000 students. We do have about 500 to 600 graduate students, but we are a mostly undergrad focused institution. We have an average class size of about 22, so we like to keep things a little bit smaller, more personalized for that academic setting. And we have an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you're gonna have those close connections with your peers as well as your professors, and all classes are taught directly by professors as well. A couple pieces about the location of Butler. We are located right in Indianapolis. So we're only about 5 to 10 minutes north of downtown Indy, which gives us a lot of opportunities for development of resumes and also just socially. So to dive into the academics, every student will have kind of a set of liberal arts foundation classes that they will be taking, but they will span over a couple different departments. So you are building your critical thinking skills, your analytical skills, your overall problem solving skills, which are great qualities to have as you're working your way through college and into the workplace. But you're also having the ability to maybe explore some things you had never thought of studying before. It also makes it pretty easy to double major or have multiple minors. So we have 6 colleges on campus. This first college that you can see up here is the College of Communication. This houses anywhere from journalism to sports media to communication sciences and disorders to music industry studies. So really kind of an overarching program that houses a lot of different opportunities. You can see here our students really enjoy getting hands-on learning experience. So we do require 1 internship for our College of Communication students. Some of the opportunities right in Indianapolis are that we have paired with all the major media affiliates. We also see some of our sports media students that maybe work with the Colts or the Pacers and other professional and semi-professional teams in the area. So a really fun way to just take advantage of Indianapolis while they are here. And you can see our students working with really state-of-the-art equipment. We want to make sure that they're learning with all of the latest technologies, so they're ready to just hit the ground running once they graduate. Our next college is the College of Education. We're really proud of this college. Actually, we've had about a 100% placement rate for the last 15 plus years. So our students are seeing a lot of success here. We're trying to get students in classroom teaching experience really early and often so that they are really comfortable in that classroom setting and to help them figure out which path they want to go on. So we have a couple different directions you can take. You can either do elementary education, middle secondary education. So those are going to be more in that actual classroom setting. Or we have 2 other options. One is youth and community development, and the other is health and human movement. So those are opportunities where if you know you want to work with young people, and that is a passion of yours, but you're not sure you want to be actually in a classroom setting, those paths can take you to still having a really successful career working with younger students. We have partnerships with all of the Indianapolis public schools, as well as some Butler lab schools, where our students are able to learn all of the theory, help build lesson plans with teachers, and then actually implement those lesson plans in the classroom setting and working with younger people. The next college that we'll talk about is the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. This college is going to house a large portion of our programs. So we have about 36 programs under here. We like to say it's home to all of our ologies. So psychology, sociology, anthropology, biology, criminology, really anything you can think of there. This is a great place to start and kind of explore a little bit. The nice thing with having a population that is mostly undergraduate focused is that, again, those hands-on learning experiences are really reserved for those undergrad students. So you can see in a couple pictures here, our students are actually conducting and working on research themselves. So they can either do that for their own research or even continue research with a professor. So this is a really great way to help build your resume as you're working your way through as a student, and then also help you kind of figure out what you want to do later on. We also have a couple of 3-year degree programs that fall under this specific college. You can always work with your faculty advisor. It is a concentrated program where you would be taking some summer classes as well, but if you're interested in maybe graduating at a little bit of a faster pace, those could be some really good opportunities for you. Our next college is going to be the College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. This houses a couple of graduate programs and undergraduate programs. So the first one is our pharmacy program. This is going to be a 6-year direct admit pharmacy program, which seems like a little bit of a big commitment to make as a 17 or 18-year-old. But if you know that pharmacy might be something that you're interested in, this is a little bit of a fast track for you. So you would apply as a first-year student and then move through the 6 years and graduate with a doctorate of pharmacy. So it's really nice to kind of have that direct trajectory. We also have health sciences and healthcare and business. So health sciences might be for someone that's interested in the physician's assistant field or potentially medical school, something in healthcare related. And then we also have healthcare and business. So we see many students that continue on to maybe medical school with this, but we also see students going into pharmaceutical or medical sales, or even hospital administration. So you get more of that business side of things in there as well. So like our other programs, we're trying to get you hands-on clinical experience, so you're really comfortable working in that patient setting. So that can set you up for success in either a graduate program or moving straight into that workforce. Our next college is the Jordan College of the Arts. So if you are someone that might be interested in being on stage or working behind stage, this is a great program for you. We have nationally ranked ballet program, we have music, theater, arts plus design, and arts administration. We do require a supplemental piece to this application if you are to apply to this program or any program that falls under here. So you'll go through and fill out our regular admission process, and then you would also complete either some sort of interview, portfolio review, or audition in order to be accepted into the actual Jordan College of the Arts. If you're also a student that loves the arts but doesn't necessarily want to major or minor in it, we still have opportunities for all students to be a part of this community. So you can either participate in the music ensembles, we have non-major dance classes, as well as some theater or student-led theater productions. So you can still keep that in your life even if you don't want to make that your primary focus. Our final college that I'll talk about today is the Lacey School of Business. So we have a new business building that just opened up around about 1.5 years ago, I believe. So that has really open, new, collaborative environments. So it allows our students to really network, connect with each other, and we really encourage people, even from the Indianapolis business world, to join us in this building as well. So we want to make sure that our students are making those connections. Within the business school, we have anywhere from accounting, finance, marketing, international business, and entrepreneurship and innovation. If you know you want to do something business related, but you're not quite sure what yet, you can always go into an exploratory business opportunity. You'd still be taking very similar classes the first couple of semesters as all business students. And then from there, you'd officially declare which major you want to move into. So totally up to you there. We do require 2 internships for our business students as well. So if you are interested in maybe doing an internship in Indianapolis, some students have even been able to incorporate that into their semester while they're taking classes. However, if that is a little overwhelming to you, that's totally fine. You can maybe do it over a summer if you want to go back home, or you can try somewhere new in the country. Or we even have some students that will study abroad and also complete an internship while they're abroad. So you can kind of mix and match your experience depending on what you might be looking for specifically. One other program I'd like to mention is exploratory studies. So if you are looking at all of these slides and you're like, these seem like great opportunities, but I have no idea what I want to do yet, that is completely fine. You do not have to know yet. We know that's a big decision. We know you may explore some things first, but that exploratory studies program is going to be basically that undecided option. So you're able to come in, take some exploratory classes, meet with the faculty advisor, and do some self-assessments, career assessments. And this gives you the opportunity to explore all your options and really figure out the right fit and the right path for you, while still kind of knocking out those core classes in those first couple of semesters. So technically, you're still usually on track to graduate within those 4 years. So we try to keep you on track, but also give you a nudge in the right direction so you start figuring out what your primary focus is going to be. Another thing that I'll mention is, again, that Indianapolis area. So life in Indianapolis, this is one of my favorite pictures of the city, actually. We're about the 17th largest city in the US. So we aren't massive, but we do have a lot of opportunities. So I did mention earlier that some of our programs do require internships, and Indianapolis is a fantastic resource for this. So we really encourage our students to take advantage of the city while they're there. But also outside of the kind of the professional world, our students really like to use this just for fun too. We have a lot going on campus. Students often stay on campus for activities, athletic events, or just to hang out. But if they need a change of scenery, Indianapolis is a great spot for that. So they'll usually go maybe to a concert or check out some of our professional sports teams like a Pacers game or a Colts game. We have the Indianapolis 500, which is really fun for students to go to, and then a ton of great restaurants and little cafes if you just kind of want to check out some new spots to study or try a new spot for like a birthday dinner or something special like that. So that is all I kind of have. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my coworker, Chris Potts, to get started on the admission overview process.
Well, thanks, Ann. And as Ann mentioned, my name is Chris Potts, Associate Director of Admission at Butler. I also am a Butler grad. I'm actually a double alum. I graduated with my bachelor's degree. I actually got 2 bachelor's degrees from Butler, one in biology and one in chemistry. And then several years back, I got my master's in business with leadership, graduate degree from Butler and our Lacey School of Business as well. So interesting path, getting having a biology and chemistry degree, and trying to how that has become to what I do now. But Butler's just a special place, and it kind of sucks you in. And I hope that if you haven't already interacted with us at Butler in a way where it's either on campus or virtually, that as you do, you'll experience that. I love it. I think it's a great place to get an education. As Ann mentioned, I think where we're located in Indianapolis is a great city for that. And so that's something that I just can't speak highly enough about. I am responsible as far as recruitment territory for Butler for most of the state of Missouri. Ann has kind of the Kansas City area in that part of the state. But the rest of the state, for the most part, is my territory. At this point, I'm kind of fond of saying that it's my second home. My wife is from the St. Louis area, and her family still resides over there in the O'Fallon area. So both for Butler and also personally, I spend a lot of time in the St. Louis area, and very fond of the state and of St. Louis. So very happy that all of you are here. I also wanted to say too that we get a lot of interest from the St. Louis area and from the state of Missouri as a whole. It's kind of a perfect distance. And, you know, it's one of those where there's a lot of similar schools as far as colleges and universities that are in Missouri that we compete against. And so all that to say that there's a lot of history that we have with the state and with St. Louis, especially as far as number of individuals that have attended Butler. We have a lot of alums in the area over there. So hopefully at some point you can connect, if you haven't already, with either current students or with alums or with parents of current students, because we think that's a great way to really kind of get a better idea about what life is currently like on campus as a Butler student. So let me jump in a little bit to the admission process, and kind of went through a lot of the, you know, why Butler and what makes us up in our profile. But obviously now you got to kind of turn your attention towards, you know, what does it take to get into Butler? And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. So here you'll see our academic profile. Keeping in mind that when we evaluate students for admission, we are looking at a lot of different factors. Certainly academics and academic performance is top of mind, but it's not the only thing that we're looking at. Here though, you can see kind of as far as test scores go and GPA, where most students fall as far as the ranges for admission. This slide is not saying that if you are below the lowest number that you are not going to be offered admission or you should not apply for admission. That is not the case at all. All this is saying is it gives you a general idea of most of our students who apply for admission and are successful at gaining admission fall into these ranges, into the 24 to 30 for ACT, 1150 to 1300 for SAT, and 3.67 to 4.18 GPA. The other way to kind of think about it, which might be helpful to you, is that about 25% of students who are admitted to Butler fall below the lowest number that you see on the screen, and 25% fall above the highest number. Sometimes that's a little easier for me to conceptualize. So academically, that kind of gives you a little bit of idea about numbers. We encourage every student to apply for admission if you're interested. We want to review your application. We want to get to know you. And so regardless of academically what you think about your overall performance, we do encourage everyone to apply, because we know that you are more than your academic performance. We know that you're more than what your GPA says. And so we want to make sure that if Butler is a place that is of interest to you, that you are able to apply and go through the whole process. So this slide kind of shows you the materials that we require in order to have a completed application. First note I will say is that we do accept the common application. So for those of you that are seniors currently and living through it, the process I know can be very stressful. But we do accept either the Common App or our own native application. Both are free to apply, and both of them ask the same basic set of questions, and we don't have a preference of whether you submit one application over the other. It's purely based upon what is easiest and most convenient for you. If you're applying to a lot of different schools and majority or all of them accept the common application, that may be something to think about, and I would encourage you to consider submitting the Common App. If, however, you're only applying to a few schools and or schools that don't accept the Common App, you might find that our own application is the way to go. Either way, we try to make it as accessible as possible, and again, the fact that it's free is a nice thing as well. You can see the next two bullet points. We do ask for a writing sample or essay, as well, of course, your official transcript and secondary school report. The last two items you'll see are listed as optional, and I'll touch more specifically in a minute on the test score part. But even though we say that the resume and letters of recommendation are optional, I pretty much always tell students it is going to be to your advantage, and I would highly encourage you to consider those things to be required, simply because the more we know about you, the better. The more information we have about you as a person outside of the classroom, the better decision we're going to be able to make on your application. So this would be things like, anything you're interested in, anything that you're passionate about, unique experiences you've had, obstacles you've overcome in your career. All of those things are really helpful to us because it gives us some insight into you as an individual and kind of what makes you, what energizes you to get out of bed every morning. And we're looking to bring in individuals to Butler, obviously, that academically have a good foundation and are well qualified and are going to succeed at Butler academically. But we're also looking for students who have good character, who are going to be able to come into Butler and be able to contribute in other ways, get involved in a lot of different kinds of organizations, and add to the Butler community. And so that's why we ask for a variety of objective and subjective materials as a part of your application, because we feel like that's the best situation for you, is that you're able to kind of tell us more about yourself. So think of it as you're applying and as you're working on applications, think about it in terms of telling your story. We want to hear your story. We want to know kind of why you decided to apply to Butler and why you think that you are qualified for admission. So if you think about it in those terms, particularly the essay, which I know gives usually a lot of anxiety to students, I think that might help to put you at ease a little bit as far as how that information is used. So a little bit about, I want to step back to test scores. Many of you may know this, but we, starting this year, have moved to a test optional admission policy. So what that means is it is your choice as far as whether or not you want to apply to admission with or without ACT or SAT scores. When you apply, there will be a question on your application that will ask you if you want to apply with or without scores. So think carefully about that before you answer that question. After you submit your application, you're allowed up to one time to change your mind on that up until you receive your decision. So if you apply without test scores, let's say, and then you realize that you're going to be able to have test scores, and those test scores kind of give you a positive advantage as far as academics, then you can reach out to us and we will gladly change over your application status to being test required. I think the easiest way to think about it is if you are confident in your overall academic record and application as a whole without your test scores, or you don't have test scores, then I would say applying test optional is probably a good thing. If, however, you have really good test scores, or you think that you need a little additional boost to your record that those test scores would provide, then that you may be somebody who wants to apply with test scores. If you do apply with test scores, we still do, as we always have, we still super score. And so what that means, if you take either the ACT or SAT more than one time, we will take your best subscore from each section and average those together. So we give you that advantage as well. So the test optional policy, many schools have gone to that this year because of the pandemic. And so I think that's an advantage for all of you. If you have any questions about that, though, please reach out to your admission counselor, whether it's Ann or myself, because we want to make sure that you understand and have answers to all your questions. So this slide kind of gives you an idea of important dates. Obviously, we're past August 1st, so the application for those of you that are seniors for the fall 2021 entry term is open, and we are accepting applications. Many of you perhaps have already submitted or are about to submit your application, so happy about that. You can see that November 1st is our early action deadline. I can't believe it, but it's 1 month away, so time sure does fly. But that is a very important date because that really is your priority consideration for best admission and scholarship consideration. So if you are even moderately interested in Butler and you're kind of on the fence, I would really encourage you to apply and apply by our November 1st deadline. There's too many reasons not to, and because of the fact that it's non-binding and it's free to apply, it's just, I can't impart highly enough how important that first deadline is. In any given year, probably about 2/3 or so of our total applicants apply on or before that November 1st deadline. So you can get an idea just by sheer numbers of how much more difficult it is after that November 1st deadline for admission and scholarship consideration. Having said that, we do have our second deadline is February 1st. And if you apply by that date, you will still have full scholarship consideration. And then after February 1st, at that point, it's kind of rolling admission, and there's additional implications there. So really, if you remember nothing else from this presentation, November 1st is just such a crucial date. And then I failed to mention December 1st is our recommended FAFSA filing deadline. Many of you know, if you are in the process, that today actually is when the FAFSA for next cycle should become available. So really from now until December 1st, you can start working on your FAFSA. And if you're able to get that submitted by December 1st, then that's good, because we should be able to get you your final aid package sometime in late January to early mid-February. So I mentioned as far as scholarships and that sort of thing go, that if you apply by November 1st, you're going to receive priority consideration for our best scholarships. You can see that they range anywhere from $11,000 to $22,000. We try to streamline the process and make it as easy as possible for students. One application covers you for both admission and merit scholarship consideration. So rest assured, there is no separate process or application or date or deadline or anything for scholarship consideration. So all you have to do is apply, and the information that you submit to us for admission consideration is the same information that we will look at and use for merit scholarship consideration. As you're looking at other schools, that is one area that I would really encourage you to consider, and to make sure that you're asking about and investigating other schools, because many other schools do have separate deadlines or a separate process or application for scholarships. And so it's going to be important that you know that distinction, and you know if there are additional steps that you have to take in order to fulfill that scholarship. So that's all the formal material that we have. I don't know, Ann, if we have any questions or not that have been submitted. I will just say that on a personal note, we know that this has been kind of a strange and crazy past 6 months or so, and that there's a lot that is going on in each of your lives. There's a lot of change. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we feel that too. And so we want to be a resource for you, and we understand the stress that all of you have, just normally speaking, from the college search process and that sort of thing. But then on top of that, everything else that is going on. So please utilize us as a resource going forward for anything you need. And I think I could speak for our other colleagues at other schools and universities that that's why we're here. And that's why we do what we do. Ultimately, we are very passionate about Butler. We're very passionate about the experience that Butler provides. I would, putting on my alumni hat, I would put Butler up against anybody. But we know there's a lot of good, high quality choices that you have out there. And so our desire is that you end up finding the best fit for you, wherever that may be. And I think the easiest way to kind of think about that is, if you can envision yourself down the road doing what Ann or I are doing, as an alum of a school, I think that's a pretty good indication that you've made the right choice. But having all the right information and knowing what questions to ask, so that you can make the best informed decision for you and for your family, is really important. And it's important to us because if you come to Butler or wherever else you go, we want you to have a transformative experience. And so I just wanted to point that out because I know right now there's just a lot of emotions, and you know, we are aware of that. We're sensitive of that, and we want to help however best we can. So.
Yeah, I would definitely second that as well. So any way I can help any of the students from Kansas City area, just let me know. So Chris, it looks like we do not have any specific questions. If anyone is out there and has questions, please, again, do not hesitate to throw those into the question and answer, and we can answer those out loud. I do have a couple of other points that are often common questions that I can just kind of toss out. Maybe you were thinking it and you just didn't want to ask, or maybe you weren't thinking it and this is a good reminder. I know Chris is pretty much in charge, or helps run some of our visit opportunities. So I don't know if he would like to speak a little to some of our upcoming and future visit opportunities for students right now, both virtually and on campus.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. We know that part of the biggest disruption, I think, for everything that's happened the past 6 months or so, obviously has been the inability probably to visit college campuses. And that's tough because we know how valuable that is, and we want interested students to come visit, not just Butler, but any school they're interested in. There's nothing that can really replace that experience. Stepping on a campus and experiencing it, feeling it, getting a sense of the community around it, it's just so important. And we are passionate about providing opportunities, as many as we can, for you all as families, frankly, to come and experience Butler and to get a sense of who we are and what we're all about. So that way you can know that what we're saying today is not made up, that we believe what we're saying, we believe in who Butler is. So we have a lot of different program offerings. We are doing on-campus visits at this point on a more limited scale, but we are offering daily campus visits. We are also offering a ton of virtual options. I know at this point, nobody really wants to do another Zoom session, but we're trying to come up with content that is creative and that is informative at the same time. And we're also trying to come up with dates and times that vary. So if your schedule is more conducive to doing it during the day or in the evenings, you have options there. So our visit website is a great place to go. It's really simple. It's butler.edu/visit. And all of our options are listed there. We break it out by on-campus and virtual. And based upon where you're at in the process and what year you are, we even break it down that way. So you can get an idea as far as what type of visit might be best for you. So take advantage of those. We have a great virtual tour as well. I would say one of the best that I've seen. So I encourage you to do that. But ultimately, whether it's now or in the spring, depending upon what happens, if you can get to campus, if you feel comfortable with that and are able to do that, I would really encourage you to do that. We also offer, even on Saturdays, just campus tours. So if you just want to come on a weekend when it's more low key and take a tour of campus led by current students, that's an option that we have too. So it's just something that we can't speak highly enough of. And if you don't see anything, and as far as an option that you want, reach out to us and we'll help you find an opportunity that will help answer all your questions. So
Definitely. I think too, one thing that we didn't cover just in our basic presentation is kind of what housing looks like on campus. So just to kind of give a bit of a basic overview, and again, if anyone has more questions, please feel free to toss them in the chat. But we do require students to live on campus for the first 3 years. So I think sometimes students might wonder, is it a commuter campus? Do students stay there? Is there a lot going on campus? And I would say there definitely is, especially because we have that 3-year requirement. It really builds a strong community base right off the bat. So students are staying on campus, they're wanting to get involved, they're wanting to kind of meet new people and socialize. For first year students, we have a couple of dorms that are more of a suite style. So you have that direct roommate and then a bathroom and another set of roommates, and you're just sharing that space with those 4 people. And then we also have more kind of apartment-like buildings for sophomores and juniors. So you have a little bit of a kitchen area, living room space. So you're getting some more independence and freedom there as you're working your way up sophomore and junior years. And then senior year, a lot of students choose to live off campus, really in the surrounding neighborhoods. So have a couple of houses that are in this about a block or two away from campus. So you're still really close to all the activity and academic buildings, but you're able to kind of live off campus with your friends and have a lot more freedom there as well. Another question that students typically ask is what can I get involved in? We have over 130 student organizations on campus. We have club and intramural sports. We have Division I athletics. So lots of different things to kind of dip your toes into. And then Greek life is often a question as well. So we have about 36% of students that are involved in Greek life. And I don't know if Chris might want to talk about his own experience with it and what he thinks about it, but we usually say it's something that is prominent but not dominant on campus. So it's kind of a cheesy line, but it is true. You go through deferred recruitment, so you're going through that second semester. So you have plenty of time to kind of get settled in, meet people, and our campus still interacts with students that are in Greek life and not in Greek life. So if it's for you, awesome. If it's not, there's plenty of other things to do. And I can let Chris talk a little bit more about that if you'd like.
Yeah, we because we have deferred recruitment, I think that's the best approach, because for the entire first year, every student is living independently in the residence halls. And if you decide to go through the rush process, you would come back a week early from Christmas break, typically, go through that process. And even if you pledge a house, you would not move into that house until your sophomore year. So you really have developed friendships and you've gotten involved with things before you split off into your individual Greek houses. I went through Rush, which I encourage everyone to do, but I did not pledge a house for a variety of reasons. But it was great. I mean, I was able to still be very involved. I had friends in every different house, and they welcomed me with open arms. And so, unlike many schools, perhaps, I don't think that there's that divider, that wall between Greek and non-Greek students, which is a huge plus for Butler. The other thing that I wanted to mention briefly, and partially because of my own past experience, is study abroad. We have one of the top study abroad programs in the country, and I did not study abroad at Butler, and without any hesitancy, I can say it's my biggest regret. So wherever you end up going, I can't strongly say enough how important it is to consider studying abroad, because there's no other time in your life where you can go abroad for a semester or so, and just really get out of your comfort zone, experience a different culture, a different part of the world. And there's no better way to realize that the world is a big place than to do that. And so I would put our study abroad program and options up against anyone, really. We also have, they're in the study abroad program of offerings, but they're domestic programs. It's a Washington, D.C. semester program, as well as a Manhattan, New York City program, where you go and you do a full-time internship. And then take one class taught one time per week by a Butler faculty member. Incredible opportunities. The experiences that students have when they study abroad and come back and speak about are just amazing. I'm totally jealous that I wasn't able to do that. So Ann, I don't know if you studied abroad or have anything to add to that from your college experience, but.
Yeah, I did study abroad. I got the opportunity to go to New Zealand for about 4 months. So I definitely would encourage students. Chris may have already mentioned this statistic, but about 40% of our students will study abroad at some point. And I think that number just grows every year. And they would really encourage you to do the same thing. There's over 200 programs in 60 countries, and you can go for a full semester. You can go for a little shorter over like a winter or summer break option. And depending on how immersive you want to get, like you could live with a host family and learn the language, or you could go on more of a Butler faculty-led program. So really based on your personal comfort, there's options for any student. So definitely encourage you to at least take a look and see what's out there and kind of have the conversation before you totally dismiss it, for sure.
Yeah, and that raises an interesting point as well, that it is open to any student. so that leads kind of to advising. We have a great advising system. There's a lot of accountability. Our student retention rate, and therefore then our student graduation rate, is extremely high. Pretty much everyone that starts as a first-year student comes back as a sophomore. It's in the mid to upper 90% range. And then of those, most of those returning students graduate on time. So even if you study abroad, it's still quite possible. It's harder to not graduate on time, but it's important to have that conversation with your advisor early on, who will be a faculty member from your major. So there's a lot of, we require students to meet at least once per semester with their advisor. So there's a lot of kind of checks and balances built in, so that way we can ensure that you're on track, that you get the resources and help you need if you need it, and that you graduate on time. So I know my parents appreciated hearing that message back in the day. And so, that's something that we're committed to, is making sure that, that those relationships are there and that students know the different resources and offices and that are available to them should they need assistance. Because let's be honest, everybody at some point needs a little help. And we want to make sure that that is known and that is out there. So study abroad, anybody can do it. There's a myth, I think, that certain majors or certain programs can't do it. That's not true. But start the conversation early, and so that you can plan accordingly and make sure that you can do it in 4 years.
Definitely. I think we have a couple more minutes left. One other thing that I would like to mention, just especially for out-of-state students, sometimes students wonder about, my students are a little bit further away, so it might be a flight away. We are located only about 20 minutes away from the Indianapolis airport, and it is fantastic, easy to navigate, really easy to get to. So that's kind of nice to know, just as someone that might be coming from a little further away. But then also cars on campus. Technically, any age student is allowed to have a car on campus. So if that's of interest to you, you just need to register your car, and then you can have that as well. So that makes transportation a little bit easier. You definitely don't need a car on campus. As our own little residential campus, it's very easy to get around. The only thing you would maybe need it for is, if you wanted to go into the city, but we also have plenty of other transportation options for students to get to and from the city, or a store, or anything that they might need there. So I don't know if we have any other questions, unless Chris, you would like to mention any last little bit.
No, I just, we appreciate you tuning in for this, and we know there's a lot that's vying for your time, and so we're grateful for that. And as we said earlier, here's our contact information. Please reach out to us at any point in time. And if you ever do visit, either virtually or in person, let us know, just so that we can connect further with you and make sure that that you're on the right track. And, we're here not just to answer questions specifically about Butler, but about the college search process in general as well. So, that's what we're good at, and that's what we like to do. So, again, we appreciate your time, and hope to see you either in person or on a screen sometime soon. So strange times, let me tell you. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what we have for our presentation. Yeah. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for joining tonight.
All right, thank you so much, Chris and Ann. I'm going to show a presentation slide here just to close things out here. Thank you so much for joining us, students. Thank you so much, Butler. When you close this window, there's going to be a quick link to for a 4-question survey. So we love for any and appreciate any feedback you can provide. Also, this is just one of many sessions being hosted again, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions at moacac.org. Also, in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording, as well as other sessions and their recordings at moacac.org. So thank you again, Butler, and thanks you for joining us on this Thursday night.